Hello, I'm going to give a demo on making color swatches for color theory class. My recommendation is to paint areas of color on a separate piece of paper and then cut it out. That way you can pick and choose to get the right color and value and saturation level that you want. So you'll start by getting a clean brush. Mine is not clean, I'm going to clean it. My water doesn't appear clean either, but it's clean enough. You want to have paper towels nearby. Okay, and let's start with a blue. If you want to do muted and chromatic grays, it's basically the same process. You pick a color, then you add the complement. And then looking at our mixtures, like warm blue and warm red was already kind of a chromatic gray it created of violet. So that's already kind of in the bag. And this cool red and cool yellow, that was kind of a muted orange anyway. Cool blue and warm yellow became kind of a muted green. Prismatic was more on this side. So because we used warm red and warm yellow to create a warm, or prismatic orange, warm blue and cool yellow made a beautiful green. But cool blue would make a beautiful green too with the cool yellow. But mixing the cool and the warm, it was slightly dingy. And cool blue and cool red made a beautiful violet. So right away I know that I can just do these to do muted, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Just to make muted swatches. Alright, and then what other, and then yeah, I can do muted. And these are muted secondary colors. I'll start with those. So cool blue and warm yellow. Right, this is the paint on my palette. It's not a lot, but I'm just, as a general rule, when you're mixing, you don't use the paint, your palette paint. You take pieces of it, portions of it, and then you mix that. I'll take a little bit of blue, put it over here, a little bit of yellow, and put it over here, just for the sake of the demonstration or showing you the proper way. Because if you end up putting like a whole teaspoonful or even a tablespoonful, God forbid, of of gouache, and then you start mixing with that, you're going to be out of your paint really soon. So start small until you get comfortable. All right, so I made my muted green. And I don't want to use it straight like that. You need to use water. You always want to make thin layers, not watery, but thin. So I'm going to test it out here. That's a little bit too watery. So I'm going to take some more paint. And I'm done with the showing you how to use the palette. I'm going to just use all this because I need all of it. But I wanted to get that rule across that you don't want to go straight to the paint that you lay out on your palette. You want to pull some of it away to make sure you don't waste all your paint, because you might not need the whole amount that you put down on your palette. See how this looks on the paper. That looks nice. That's also slightly watery, but it's okay as long as it's an even, smooth application. Next one, I'll do it with a little bit more pigment to the water ratio. So a swatch about this size, you can I'll put my hand here for scale. Okay, and then yeah, there's different mixtures can be obtained. This one had more of the blue in it. But that's already a muted green. So I have the green here on my palette, so I might as well do chromatic gray while I'm at it. So green and red. Red is the complement, right? I'm gonna try warm red to make my chromatic gray version of green. Put some warm red out here. And then I'll take a little bit of that and mix it, or bring it over here. Okay. That was too much. So what did I make? I made a muted orange or a muted red. And I need that. I need the muted red or red orange. All right, so that's great. All right, so I'm gonna add more. I'm still going for a chromatic gray of green. So I'm gonna keep this. I'll put out more blue and yellow. And rinse my brush. I'm gonna go ahead and mix these. So I have a muted green again. I'm gonna use not so much of the red this time. Take some of that. There we go. So this is like a chromatic gray. So you can get a swatch of that. Okay, I kind of want to see, I want to extend it and make more swatches for future assignments. So I'm gonna make another swatch with white. I'm gonna extend it with white, make a lighter version of it. That looks very gray. but you can see a hint of green in there. See it? So this is a chromatic. They're both, but this one is much lighter. They're both chromatic gray with a greenish tinge to it. So green chromatic gray. All right. All right, so far I've got muted green, muted red, or orange, either one. The warm red can look orange, so, and then chromatic gray of green, two of them. Okay. When these swatches are dry, you're gonna put them under a stack of heavy books to flatten them, because you can see on the back they can be kind of wrinkled. When they dry, it won't be as bad, but still putting it under a stack of books can make them much flatter, and then you'll cut them out into like 2-inch squares or 1-inch squares, depending on the assignment. All right, what do we want to do next? I had next on this list, as far as the secondaries, cool red and cool yellow. For a muted orange, but I already have muted orange, so I'm not going to do that. So the muted violet, warm blue, and warm red. Warm blue, warm red. I have warm red here, and warm blue for a muted violet. All right, and this is not much paint. I'll go ahead and clean out my brush, wipe it off a little bit, and mix those. So this is like a chromatic gray of violet. All right, this is like a 1/2-inch brush. It's very nice to use something of that size. You want soft bristles, not hard like for oil painting, but soft like for watercolor. And bristle is probably the wrong word to use, because you don't want to get a bristle brush, because that's the hard. So sable or synthetic, those are the words for the softer ones. So if I want just a muted violet, maybe I'll do the straight up cool blue and cool red, and then I'll add the complement of yellow. Cool blue, cool red. And I already have some muted on my brush. Or I could mix with this one to make a muted violet also. Maybe I'll do that. But the complement of yellow would work too. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead, and I have the very muted violet, the chromatic gray violet on my brush. That's okay, because I want to make a muted violet. Okay, this doesn't look muted enough maybe, so I'm gonna move over here into my muted violet. My very muted violet. And then that looks nice. Okay. Try it out on my paper. This is the benefit of doing your swatches on separate pieces of paper. You can just do it really fast and then cut it out neatly afterwards. And you can pick and choose the right color. You can make changes, because it looks different on the paper than it does on the palette. Colors also look different. This might not apply so much to what we're talking about here, but they also look different depending on what colors they're next to. But that's a nice muted violet. All right, so I got my secondaries taken care of. And now for some primaries. Running out of room on this palette, but I'll see if I can, maybe I'll wipe something away. So if I can quickly wipe away something I don't need on my palette to make room, I'll get rid of this very gray green. So you wet your paper towel and do that. Making room. Okay, so muted blue. Let's try some of this warm blue. And I have some orange here. It's really warm red, but it looks orange, so I'm gonna add some of that to the muted blue. Into the blue to make it a muted blue. What I meant to say. All right, so right now I'm in the process of seeing how much blue I want in the mixture. I think I'm gonna add a little bit more. I think there was some violet left in my brush. That's okay. I'm like, mistakes are gonna happen. That's another reason to do swatches on paper first and then cut it out. So I'm adding more blue so that I make it look less purple, and then I can add more orange to that. Okay, let's see how that looks on my paper. Yeah, that looks like a muted blue. All right, so let me push this and see how far I can go. This is almost chromatic gray actually, but I'm gonna see how I'm gonna see if I can use this for my muted, and if I can push it to chromatic gray and still have it be have the chroma of blue showing up. So let me add some more of this warm red here. I have to be very careful not to add too much. Just putting the tip of my brush. Oops, that was a lot. Yeah. Add some white. Help me see if I'm working with a muted orange or a muted blue. I think it's a muted orange now, so I'm gonna I'm gonna keep working on this side, get some blue over here, and then gradually add blue until it comes back to looking like blue. But as you can see, it's easy to go too far one direction or another. But it's all right. We're learning, we're experimenting, we're trying things. That was a lot of blue. I can come more this way. All right. I think I'm almost there. See how it looks on the paper. This does look like a bluish chromatic gray. Kind of greenish too. But I don't know. Is it blue enough? Maybe a little bit more. Maybe it wasn't quite blue enough. Go over here. Do this in comparison to the muted blue that I had. A little bit more blue. I think this one. I like that this one with just another touch more blue might be the one. Okay. It appears to be kind of looks green, doesn't it? I'm going to, this might be my chromatic gray, so maybe I'll just make a muted blue. And have the first one be my chromatic gray. Too watery. I think I might have done the chromatic gray much better actually this time with this one. Okay, yeah, that has a blue tinge to it. All right, so that's my chromatic gray. Okay, so I did it. I've got my muted blue and my chromatic gray blue. Okay, I somehow managed to get it. Okay, now a muted red. This is a muted orange. The way I saved my chromatic gray blue was to add the cool. I was using warm. I'll do that with the red too. I'll add some cool red and then I'll have a muted red. Because it'll make it more red looking. Okay, this is not muted enough, probably. So you add the complement, which would be green. Let me go ahead and just do cool blue, cool yellow. I have the red on my brush, so now it looks like purple, but I think I want more yellow because there was a little bit too much blue, I believe. Okay, so this could be a chromatic gray of a violet, which I don't need. I'm going to mix into this red for my muted red. See how it looks on the paper. I'm going to put a touch more water in my mixture. Okay, see how it looks on the paper. Kind of looks like a muted violet. Let's see if I add a touch more of my red, my cool red. I'm just going to use what's on the brush and go over here. Okay, that's very red. Then if I move into here, that might be good. See how that looks. Yeah, so that's a muted red. I think that's working. Okay, so I'm collecting all my colors, and then I'll just have to let it dry, press it under some books, and then I can sit down. I mean, I'm doing this standing up. It's easier standing. But then I can sit down and I'll be doing my cutting, and it'll just be spending some time cutting all these swatches out, all the squares. So I want a chromatic gray of red. So I'm gonna add more of this stuff with the yellow too. So yeah. Adding more of this over here in the muted area. Not here, that's more prismatic. And I still have some white on my palette. I want to see how that's going to look too. But first I'll try this. Going two different directions to try to smooth it out on here. Doing a lighter touch now, like a flicking of the wrist. Okay, so I've got my chromatic gray of the red and my muted red. It might help to add a little bit of white to this. I'm gonna try it with the white mixed in. Okay, there we go. So another version of the chromatic gray that has a red tinge to it. But this one has white mixed in. All right, red is taken care of, blue is taken care of. Now I need to do my muted and chromatic grays of yellow. The complement of yellow is violet. I have something like violet over here. I think I'll go ahead and do a warm yellow. Could have done cool too. I have more violet over here too. And maybe I'm gonna end up, maybe I'll end up adding some cool yellow as I mess around with this too. But so I'm starting off with a dirty brush, kind of dirty. I'm gonna clean it out a little bit more. And then taking my yellow, I'm approaching my violet over here. Okay, so I already have a muted yellow right now. that was easy. Okay, now for the chromatic gray violet, I'm gonna get more, yellow, I'm gonna get more violet. And I don't want it to start looking like a muted violet, so that's the thing. Oops. Get some more water in here. Got plenty of room to mess around because I got all this violet and all this yellow. See how that looks. So there, yeah. So it looks like brown, right? But that's what brown is, a warm chromatic gray. So that's what's happening here. So this is a chromatic gray of the yellow. I don't even need to bother with the white adding. Maybe I'll do it just for fun, but I don't need to, but because I'm happy with that. And then I'll add a little bit of white just to try it, because I can, and make a muted or a chromatic gray that has white in it and a yellow tinge. And I'll just put it down here. It looks similar, but it's a little bit more opaque with the white. I didn't add a lot of white. Let me try a lot more white. See how that looks. Yeah. Oh, that's that. All right, so that's how you make, this is how you get started with the swatches. You're just gonna have all these sheets of color. Look at all this on my table here, all these different choices that I have. It's wonderful to have options. And I can let these dry, and then I will flatten them, and then I can cut them out, and I can mix and match as needed for the different assignments. All right, thanks.